I've been building a trading indicator for MT5 using Claude Code, and at some point the indicator was working. Signals are showing up on the chart, entry points, signals, TP, everything. But you get to the point that everything seems simple, but do they really? I mean, how do you know if the signals are mathematically correct? I use Claude Code for building the indicator. How can I make sure that Claude actually made the correct code? Well, the correct answer, and this is the answer that Claude gave me, is that the Claude build a Python code and then test everything from there. But the problem with this approach is that if the Claude makes any mistake building the MT5 indicator, it probably makes the same mistake when creating the Python file. In other words, you don't get an independent audit, and you're asking Claude to review its own work. When I pointed this out to Claude, what came out of that conversation ended up being more useful than just fixing that indicator. That's what this video is about. I'm gonna show you the conversation, how we solve the problem, and then I'll walk you through how you can get it set up on your machine. By the way, the whole thing is free. Before I show you how we build the MBT, the system that fetches the price from MT5 and backtest everything, let me show you something very cool. When I started building this indicator and everything here, I asked Claude to create a memory, create a story memory of what's happening around building this, because I wanted to create, for example, short story or reels, and the Claude build a memory of the stories that you can see here. This is all the story that Claude builds as we go, and it's a memory of what we've done so far. And for this specific episode, I asked it to look at the memory and tell me what happens, what was our problem that we wanted to fix, and it went a step further and create something like this. It's the UI like my Claude Code. Claude reads from its memory and create a story about what was happening between me and Claude, and it built it exactly for this YouTube video. So for example, I can play it. It starts my questions and then its answers and everything around that. I can resume and pause this if I want to go through all the things. I have to go through all the sessions here and see what was going on. But with this built-in HTML, I know exactly what's going on. Actually, this is for another story. Let me find the story that Claude, oh, here it is, for MBT. I'm gonna open it and see what was going on between me and Claude when we decided to build this MCP. So first, I think I asked it something. The indicator is working, signals are showing up on the chart, entries as sub take profits built. Before I trust any of this, I need to verify the calculation are actually correct, not just that it looks right visually. How do we do that? I want to be sure that the Claude had built the indicator correctly. I didn't know because Claude code that. I wasn't sure if Claude had done it right. So I asked how we can know that the signals, that the indicator is actually what the strategy says. And the Claude answers, this is very good. It's even thinking. So basically it says that it makes a Python script that mimic everything to test the logic of indicator. And I said to it, it's explaining what's going on and why everything is wrong. So basically the results of MT5 and our indicator is different from the results of its Python. So it's going to dig in and find the problem. I say, why are they different? I thought we were using the same data. So it's explaining that there is a difference, as I said, between the MT5 and the Python code that it has written. You wrote the MQL code with me. I also wrote the Python script to verify it. If I had a misunderstanding of logic when I wrote the indicator, I carried that same misunderstanding into the verification script. It says the same thing that I explained the difference between MT5 and the Python. Apparently, I asked, so the whole verification approach is flawed from the start. What actually works? It's giving me now the fix. It says make the
indicator log its own work. So basically it's gonna bypass the Python and create a log file for the MT5, and Claude is going to read that log file to see exactly what is happening in MT5. We are giving Claude eyes. It can see everything that our indicator and our MT5 is generating. I said do it. A few minutes later it says done. So time, direction, entry, SLTP, ADX, and everything that our indicator has is going to be logged in a file. And after that we ran the audit against all 23 signals that the indicator had generated. All 23 passed. These numbers came straight out of MT4. This is exactly what I explained. So I asked if we can make it a general MCP, so anyone with the same problem can use it, and it's gonna answer yes. It's explaining the whole thing to me, and it offers to wrap everything in an MCP. That clause has named tools it can call directly in a conversation. What is the MCP? It's basically a container of some tools that Claude can read from. So every time we don't need to, or actually Claude doesn't need to reinvent everything. It has a toolkit and it decides when and where to use them. For example, if it needs price from MT5, it can drag the price from MT5 price feed. It doesn't need to again write a Python file or something like that to fetch the price. And I said build it as a standard tool. Done. MBT it is. So now it's explaining again to me how it works, and now it's writing the tools in the MCP. So we have ping. The ping is a confirmation of your MT5 is connected. Get open, high, low, close volume, which is fetching the price feed from the MT5, and get signals. It reads the logged file, validate signals, check every signals, SLTP. So it tests your SL and TP to see if they are placed correctly, and then backtest, full replay with metrics and HTML report. Let me see that if we have that here. Okay, I found it. It gives you some report like this. For example, I've backtested on EURUSD, gives me results, profit factor below 1, which shows that the strategy is not profitable. As a result, it is rejected. And everything here. Get back to the conversation. So the backtest is something like that. An HTML report. If you want, you can go and open it on your browser by copying the path on a browser like this. You can see the whole report here.
So that's MBT, MT5 Backtest Toolkit. The core idea is that the indicator logs its own signals, entry, exit point, and everything it actually calculated, and it can read it from the log. Claude reads that file, pulls real price from MetaTrader directly, and replaces each trade. That's it. No Python reimplementation and no guessing. And we pack it so anyone can use it for free, not just for our own indicator. Any MT5 indicator can use it. Now here's the part I want to walk you through properly. There are three things you need: Claude Code, Node.js, and the MBT itself. Let me go through each one step by step.
First thing, Claude Code. This is the command line tool that lets you talk to Claude about your actual code and files. It's what makes all of this work. You'll need a Claude account. If you don't have an account, create one here. Log in with your email or create a login and password. Now Claude Code requires a paid plan. It's $20 per month for Pro. There is no free version, but for what it does, especially if you're building indicators or EAs, it's worth it. Once you have your account sorted, you install Claude Code through the terminal. On Mac, that's the terminal. On Windows, you can use PowerShell. Since I'm on Mac, what you need to do is you press Command in space and type terminal to open the terminal, and then paste this command into your terminal and press enter. Of course, that command requires Node.js to be installed first. I'll cover that in a second, but if you already have Node.js, run that command. If not, go back to this step after the next section. If the command doesn't work, use npm installer with this command. I'll put it in the description. Okay, I got an error and gave it to Claude and got the fix. And everything is up and running now. You probably wouldn't get all those things, and the first command works for you. The problem was because I don't have a good connection right now while recording this. The first command got stuck, but now everything is working. Okay, now after it installs, type Claude. If it's first time that you run it, choose your mode. For example, dark mode, press 2 for dark mode, and then press 1 for login. It'll open a browser window to authenticate with your Claude Code. After logging in, come back to the terminal and you see Claude Code prompt. That's it. Claude Code is ready now. And now Node.js. If you've never heard of it, it's something that Claude Code needs so that we can install it. You don't need to understand it beyond that. Just go to nodejs.org, then go to the download tab, and now run the installer. It's just a standard install, nothing to configure. When it's done, go back to your terminal and run node --version. You should see a version like this. If you do, Node.js is installed. Now go back and run the Claude Code install command from the previous step. The process for Windows is the same. Just download the Windows version of the Node.js and use PowerShell instead of terminal we used on Mac. However, I use something else that I like better. I use VS Code because I can see all my files and everything in it. You can download VS Code for Mac or Windows from code.visualstudio.com. After installing VS Code, go to the extension and type Claude and install the extension. And then you can find it from here. Open a new session and you're good to go. The third part is installing MBT. You don't install MBT manually. You just give Claude the link and tell it what to do. Go to the MBT GitHub repository and copy the link. Open the indicator folder, the one that you're building in VS Code. The MBT is gonna live there. You can keep all your indicators in this folder, or if you prefer separate folders per indicator, you'll need to install MBT in each one and paste the repo link. By the way, the MBT GitHub repository link is in the description. Then type this. Clone this repo and set up the MBT MVC server for me. That's it. Claude does all the work and lets you know when it's done. Just allow any permissions it asks for. Since I have more than one MT5 on my VPS, when setting up the MBT config file, Claude asked me which MT5 to use. I chose the one I run my indicators and backtest on. If you've ever switched to a different MT5, just tell Claude to update the config file. Once that's done, attach your indicator to a chart. For example, EURUSD, and just tell Claude to backtest it. Or if Claude built the indicator from your strategy and you want to verify it's behaving correctly, ask Claude to cross-check it against your strategy. Just make sure your strategy PRD or a specification file is in the folder too, so Claude can read it and compare it against the indicator logic and signals.
That's MBT. The link is in the description. It's free, open source, and you can do whatever you want with it. If you're building indicators or EAs with Claude Code, this solves the biggest blind spot in the process. Claude now actually sees what MetaTrader is actually doing, not just write code and hope it's right. If you have any question, just drop it in the comment.